Ormesher, Unsolved. Sources for this short documentary include the Ormesher Advertiser and Newspaper Archive, available at the local library service, Descendants of the Ormesher Family, and family history research kindly provided by Dot Hawks. Ormesher is a historic market town located 11 miles north of Liverpool. Granted its market charter by Edward I in 1286, the town has become well known for its twice-weekly market. The church of St. Peter and St. Paul stands proudly to the top of Church Street and has close connections with both the Earls of Derby and the Stanley family. The church itself is one of only 3 churches in England with both a tower and separate spire, and is unique to have them both at the same end of the building. Prior to modern times, Ormesher was a hive of industry. Located near to the ports of Liverpool, the town saw many businesses thrive, such as rope making, brewing, weaving, spinning, clock and furniture manufacturing, and tanning, to name but a few. Our story centres around the unsolved double murder of Margaret and Mary Ormesher. Margaret, born on the 13th of June 1888, and Mary, born on the 20th of February 1890, lived together at 8 Asmore Lane since birth, which at that time came within the boundary of Holsall, both girls being baptised at St Cuthbert's Church in Holsall. The sisters were the daughter of the late Edward and Emma Ormesher, who were formerly licensees of the Brickmakers Arms, Asmore Lane. When the public house became redundant, they continued to reside there, and the private house was named Ivydene. The spinsters were both very well known in the town, mainly due to Mary Ormesher owning a small tobacconist shop for many years, located on Church Street in the town centre. Mary, known as Aunt Polly to the townsfolk, opened the shop 7 days a week, and quite often it's said, due to the shop's popularity, the sisters' takings would be between £50 and £100 per day. Mary would carry the takings home every evening, sometimes as late as 10 p.m, passing through Coronation Park. It was on the evening of Saturday the 5th of May when the next door neighbour of the sisters, Mr. Thomas Draper, went to bed at around 10:45 p.m. A short time later, Mr. Draper was woken by his wife, who had heard bins rattling in the backyard. Mr. Draper got dressed and in his slippers proceeded to the backyard, but he found the outbuilding still secure and the bins intact. During the course of checking the yard, Mr. Draper stated that he'd heard groans and breaking glass. However, he thought it had come from further up the street and was simply someone worse for wear after drink. The following Sunday morning, a friend of the sisters, Mrs. Whitehouse, who lodged above the shop on Church Street, knocked at number 6 Asmore Lane, the home of Mr. Tom Cummings. She explained that Mary Ormesher had not arrived to open up the shop that morning, and after knocking at their front door had received no reply. Together, Mr. Cummings and Mrs. Whitehouse ventured next door. Mr. Cummings noted that there were 2 bottles of milk on the doorstep and the yard was in a state of disorder. There was evidence of blood on the yard walls and the dustbins were knocked over with broken glass strewn across the yard. Mr. Cummings pushed the back door open where he discovered Mary Ormesher lying on her back fully clothed with blood covering her. Upon seeing this, Mr. Cummings ran to alert a police officer at one of the police houses just 100 yards from the scene of the crime. Mrs. McBriar of 21 Asmore Lane had witnessed Mr. Cummings running from the Ormesher yard, heading for the police houses. Being an experienced nurse, Mrs. McBriar headed over to see if she could be of any assistance. On entering the back door, she saw Mary Ormesher lying on her back approximately 3 foot from the door. She realised straight away that she had been attacked. She then heard heavy breathing, and on moving across the room, she found the sister's dog Trixie lying on the sofa, breathing heavily. She then noticed Margaret Ormesher lying on the floor beyond any help, at which point she backed out of the house without touching anything, and shortly after Trixie followed. Chief Inspector Lindsay, head of Lancashire CID, was in charge of the case. He was quickly on the scene, along with the Chief Constable of Lancashire, Mr. T. Johnson, and an array of experts in the field of crime investigation. The police quickly put a theory together about the sisters' last hour. It is thought that the sisters were sitting together, chatting whilst drinking wine, when they were surprised by a noise in the backyard. It's then thought that Mary, on opening the back door, came across the intruder. A struggle then broke out, possibly in the yard, where there was every sign that they had fought for their lives, upon where they were severely beaten around the head with various implements. Join us for part 2, where we will look at the evidence provided in this case. We will look at witness statements, and we will come to the conclusion of our story. Thank you for listening.